History remembers Pontius Pilate as the man who condemned Jesus Christ to die, a symbol of weakness, a ruler too afraid to stand against the will of the crowd. But what if there's more to this story? What if Pilate was not just a coward, but an instrument in a divine plan far greater than himself? Pilate served as the Roman governor of Judea under Emperor Tiberius. His duty was clear: maintain order, please Rome, and control a land that despised his rule. Every decision he made was a tightrope walk between preventing rebellion and asserting Roman authority. He was a man under immense pressure, tasked with governing a province known for its fierce resistance and deep-seated religious convictions. Then came the day that would forever test his power, his morality, and his very humanity. The day they brought before him a man called Jesus of Nazareth. Pilate had judged hundreds of men before, but this one was different. There was no defiance in his eyes, no fear in his posture. He was calm, silent, unafraid. The usual tactics of Roman interrogation seemed to have no effect on him. The charges brought against Jesus were serious: sedition, claiming to be a king, and undermining Caesar's authority. But as Pilate questioned him, the accusations didn't align with the man standing before him. In the Gospel of John, chapter 18, we get a glimpse into their profound exchange. Pilate, likely trying to understand the nature of the threat, asked, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus' response was unlike anything a political revolutionary would say. "My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest." Those words must have struck Pilate. This wasn't a man vying for an earthly throne. He was speaking of a different kind of kingdom, a spiritual realm beyond Pilate's comprehension. For a brief, powerful moment, the Roman governor, a man of worldly power, stood face to face with divine truth, and he didn't know what to do with it. He recognized that Jesus was innocent of any crime against Rome. Yet just outside the praetorium, the crowd's roars grew louder, demanding blood. This was Pilate's ultimate dilemma. He was caught between his conscience, which told him Jesus was innocent, and the political reality screaming in his ears. The religious leaders had whipped the crowd into a frenzy, turning a legal proceeding into a public spectacle. Pilate tried to reason with them. He attempted to use the Passover custom of releasing one prisoner, offering them Jesus. But they rejected his offer, shouting for Barabbas, a known criminal, to be freed instead. The pressure intensified. Pilate feared a full-blown riot, which would be a black mark on his record and could lead to his removal by Caesar. The crowd's chant became deafening. "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Torn between fear of rebellion, fear of Caesar, and the fear of losing control, Pilate's resolve crumbled. In one final, symbolic act of surrender, he called for a basin of water. He washed his hands before the crowd and declared, "I am innocent of this man's blood. See to it yourselves." But no amount of water could wash away the truth of his decision. He had surrendered to fear instead of standing for the justice he knew was right. He handed over an innocent man to a brutal fate, hoping to save his own position. Yet, even in this profound moment of human weakness, the unstoppable will of God was being fulfilled. The ancient prophecies spoke of a suffering servant, a sacrifice for the sins of humanity. Pilate's decision, though born of fear and political calculation, became an unwitting part of this divine design. It was through this act of injustice that the path to redemption was paved. Sometimes God uses even the broken choices and flawed actions of men to complete his perfect overarching purpose. Pilate thought he was merely ending a local disturbance, a political problem that threatened his career. In truth, he was playing a role in opening the way for the salvation of all mankind. The cross was not a defeat, but the ultimate victory, orchestrated by a wisdom far beyond human understanding. Pilate's story forces us to look inward. How often do we also wash our hands of what we know is right, simply because it's difficult or unpopular? How often do we avoid speaking a hard truth because we fear the consequences? The struggle Pilate faced is not just a relic of ancient history. It's a reflection of the timeless battle inside every human soul between conviction and convenience, between courage and fear. But the ultimate message of this story is one of hope and sovereignty. It shows us that God can turn even our hesitation, our failures, and our compromises into part of His grand redemptive plan. His purpose never fails. It only unfolds, often in ways we could never expect. Remember, no human decision, no matter how flawed, can ever stop the divine purpose. Even through our doubt and weakness, God is still writing a story of redemption.